Hiya! This video is like kinda tough to do. I've been working on the script ever since the announcement of Destiny 2's end was shared, and I'm not sure if I can get this out quickly enough to be somewhat relevant. I'm definitely not up to date anymore. I will try regardless, as Eris would say. I must. I have to apologize, this video is probably gonna be somewhat cluttered. It was first intended to be a short, like 5-minute thing, but the more I thought about it, the more my thoughts circled and I decided what to put in it, the less that felt fitting. Not for Destiny, not now. I don't really expect anyone from Sony PlayStation to see this, but if in some universe, in some reality, someone happens to stumble across this, okay, cool. Thank you for being here. I have a personal request actually. As a fan and as a consumer, as a client, as a guardian of course, you can skip to this number and well, the rest of the video is for people who are interested in the topic and for me to yap my thoughts off. So I joined the fight pretty late. Around 2021 I downloaded Destiny 2 after my best friend told me about it multiple times, saying that it was her favorite game and she'd like to play it with me. At that time I was extremely critical of trying out any new games, especially one like Destiny that seemed like a lot. It was hard for me to get out of the comfort zone that were the same 2 or 3 games. Eventually though, I downloaded it quietly as a surprise and gave it a shot. One Awoken Warlock later, my friend made a new character to start alongside me and also bought me the 3 campaigns that were available at the time: Forsaken, Shadowkeep, and Beyond Light. My friend told me about the Red War while we roamed the Cosmodrome trying to save Shohan from being stupid. She showed me videos from it, and my first feeling was honestly disappointment. I wasn't able to jump in the game like she had back then. The Red War compared to Shohan's itty bitty New Light quest was like, I don't know, the nitrogen bomb versus coughing baby meme. But we kept playing. We did the Risk Runner mission where I learned that Warlock jumps will never save you once you slip off an edge, and that the blinks I thought were super cool are not that viable in PvE. At least not for me as a blueberry. And even if I was critical, my friend had fun. She lore dumped a whole bunch of me of what that chicken is, like the Colonel and Kate. And the gameplay didn't feel bad at all. Chaotic, new, sure I'm not good at jumping puzzles, but it still felt good. And then came Forsaken, my first campaign with Kate 6 as my best friend's favorite character, in action this time. I laughed at his jokes. I saw Petra, an Awoken NPC, and I loved seeing the species I picked. She's one of the characters I very much love, although I would say that about most of the characters in this series, franchise, whatever you want to call it. I felt a legitimate rush to try and run and save Kate. I felt tears well up in my eyes when he said that his partner would be there any second, knowing we were doomed to come too late. I felt the anger at Aldrin, I felt with Ikora's rage, I felt insulted by Zavella's choice to deny us revenge, and then connection when our guardian broke the silence to say that they'd do it themselves. Which is such a cool scene. Hunting the Barons down, hearing taunts and learning more about Kate, his backstory, their backstory, I fell in love with the universe. And then just a few days later, I found myself sitting in a real-life figure drawing class, googling during a break what builds are good for Void Walkers, because I wanted to learn and get better at the game. I read up on an exotic helmet called Nezarek's Sin. It dropped the same day from a strike, and I am still running the helmet to this day mostly. And that got me to read up on Nezarek, the lore, something that I was ecstatic about once Lightfall had dropped. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. We played the other campaigns, and I loved them. Even Shadowkeep, which isn't too well regarded by the community, was an expansion that introduced me to Eris Morn that I previously only knew from the Get Your Rock off my map clip. And Eris is one of my favorite characters. Like I said, I love most of the characters in this franchise, but like Eris is very much up the tier list. And around the time when we played Beyond Light, the Witch Queen release was right in front of the door, and I was so invested by the game that I quickly pre-ordered it, something I've never done before. Every trailer was watched together on Discord, multiple times skipping through the video and slowing it down to look at every detail, searching and hunting for Easter eggs, theorizing what would be going on. And that became our little ritual for many years to come, right up until Renegades. I like competitive games. Always had. That was kind of like I only play that comfort zone before I got myself to start Destiny 2. What can I say? I love PvP. And I really do like the gunplay in Destiny, so I spent quite a lot of time within the Crucible. It was kind of like the best of both worlds. I still do. On days where there wasn't any campaign or story to play, and I didn't feel like farming for anything specific, or I didn't have any builds to build and try out, where I didn't really know what to do, but I still wanted to play Destiny, especially when I was playing solo, I'd spend time in the Crucible. And during that time, that was what planted the idea of streaming and videoing into me, which is another reason why keeping quiet about all this kind of feels wrong to me. I kept reading up on lore, I scrolled through the titles and the triumphs, I looked at what I wanted to complete first, what I could complete, and there I stumbled upon a cosmetic. The hairball shell, the bunny shell. And with that, a small video series called How to Not Solo Prophecy. Prophecy was my first solo dungeon, because I was heavily inspired by that, and I've spent weeks on trying to get this fucking ghost. And then I had it, and then I had the urge to do it again. For my ego. Flawless. Which took another couple of weeks. And a lot of my nerves. And long after that, Warlord's Ruin dropped. And me and my duo did it day one. Not master, and it took us very long, but we did it. No tutorial, endless breaks of looking for secrets and admiring the map, searching for the way, falling to our deaths. But we did it. And looking back from the person who took weeks to solo Prophecy for a ghost shell, swearing that I'd never touch it again because I've gotten my reward, to being the same person running Warlord's Ruin day one, laughing the entire way through with another person, I felt better. I felt like I had an actual improvement of myself at the game, because I wasn't only getting carried, but I found paths myself. I've understood like puzzle dynamics. I didn't feel like so much of an anchor, but actually someone who's doing something for the group. And I'm proud of that. I still have clips of my gameplay from Witch Queen where I definitely was an anchor getting pulled through. Speaking about being an anchor and groups, well, Destiny has a community that I really love and hate when you look at Twitter, but it's Twitter. Shove that away. I'd claim there isn't another game like Destiny that caused me to meet and play with as many random people as in there. Going from people I meet in PvP lobbies on Trials weekends, where I started off with a solo run to a 3-stack in the span of 3 games, or people that I met emoting in the tower, or even just some on the map, like the guy from Hawaii when I was on Nessus and stay awake an entire night, learning how to do the basic sparrow fly. I did that on the Broom Sparrow, and I was asked if I was too broke to play Hogwarts Legacy. Well, I learned that earlier that day from another random guardian doing that on Nessus that explained it to me and my duo. I kept awake, practicing. That guy approached me, I explained it to him, and he started practicing alongside me. The circle continued. And as stupid as that was, in some campaigns and stories that saved my life when I fell or got knocked off the map, because the Warlock doesn't really have an upwards momentum once you're down, I could just roll my way up, basically. And speaking about Guardians together, I would have to talk about clans eventually, right? Otherwise Hawthorne would probably appear and smack me. So the first ever clan we joined was from someone we met on the tower randomly emoting, another random encounter. They told us about a clan and we wrote a legitimate application to it. The second clan we joined a few years ago, another application, this time sent randomly without someone forwarding us, so we just found it on a website. But it made an instant impression, something that appears in conversation with some of the people I still play with from there regularly. We mainly joined a clan to run raids, just meekly asking if running 1 or 2 that we were really invested in would be okay for them, since we had no clue what was going on, and we kind of needed Sherpas and guidance. And that at some point grew into a phase where I ran Root of Nightmares every Friday, and I went from, I would like to run the raid one time because I read lore about it, to sharpening some people myself. Moving on. So obviously I love the game. It grew quite a lot on me in the past 5 years, and I could sit here and talk about how great this game is, and I will, and I have, but I also want to make space in this video to throw in another claim. Destiny is not a game. At least not just that. It's an art piece, one that is, or well was, alive and breathing. If you look at the world it built, the stories it told, each lore book and the characters, the developments, the destinations, and the sheer amount of thought and care that went into it, Destiny very well is art on so many layers. Art has many mediums and definitions. If you look at the Cambridge definition, it is described as the making of objects, images, music, etc. that are beautiful or that express feelings, or an activity through which people express particular ideas. Destiny fits both of these definitions pretty well. One of the reasons I am critical of newer games and movies, even of books, is that to me, more often than not, they stray from being art mediums and go to simple means of entertainment, which isn't always wrong, but it gets to a point. Especially from bigger studios, I found myself thinking less and less about what I just watched or played, rather than it just passed a lot of time. Destiny, even with all the poison that corporate greed poured into it, like the scrapping of what Lightfall should have been, I am still mad about that, never strayed from being art in my eyes. It has an overabundance of storytelling, of lore that people that don't watch videos or read the weapons and armor notes and the books in a game, that they will never know about. It is beautifully crafted, and art inspires more. That world, the characters, all of it. I've begun to plan a Destiny fanfic or story regarding my Guardian since probably early last year. Most of it is already planned out, but pushed behind, so I first finished something else because, well, I thought I had time. Still, I sat myself down and read more lore so I could try to fit my Guardian into the universe without disturbing its canon too much. Because passion inspires passion, and as much as I love Destiny and I appreciate the art of it, for a long time it was hard to recommend it to new lights. The seasonal content missing, the sunsetted campaigns. I've tried to catch up with everything so I understood where we are going forward from. In a way, Destiny was like a live performance. If you missed certain things, you missed them. Sure, maybe sometimes there were recordings and you could try to learn and understand, but it was a different thing than to experience them yourself. And on one hand, that sucked. The Destiny you couldn't play anymore. It's a huge topic, there are videos about that. On the other hand, having the story adjust and shift with you, easing you from campaign to campaign, and the crunch, it felt exclusive. I liked doing it, although it is the main thing I always criticized about the game, and it gave me the worst kinds of FOMO, and more often than not, my entire free time would be swallowed up by Destiny 2 the last week or two of a season, trying to complete whatever was left of the season pass. But with the completion of the Light and Dark saga, with a final shape that tore my heart out and hugged me at the same time, thank you very much for that by the way, I began recommending the game again. A new saga, sure, it touched on things gone, but most of the mysteries you could jump in now and experience again and probably understand on the way to go. So, after the conclusion of the final shape, my duo and I were worried. Was this the end? With many people getting the finale they had been playing toward for a decade, some players were done, but we weren't. And then we watched a stream where they revealed the Fate Saga, the next big pile of mysteries that we were supposed to unravel over the course of the next few years. And we loved it! The 9 were so cool to me, I couldn't wait to learn more about them. Like I said, Prophecy was my first dungeon, and I read a shit ton of lore, and I had a shit ton of questions. So I could recommend the game again. Not a blank slate, but close enough to have someone jump in and learn from the get-go. And with a new saga that I was there for day one, I could actually collect the physical collector's editions this time, because my friend has done that for the Light and Dark saga, but I joined for that way too late, so to me that really wasn't worth it. With the new saga, I was really hyped to collect, and that didn't age well. At least I can say I have everything from that saga now. Kepler was cool, Renegades was amazing. I'm not too much of a Star Wars fan, at least I don't think I can call myself that when I only really watched the original movies, the prequels, and a good chunk of Clone Wars when I was younger, and I can't really remember that. But the expansion was perfect. Yes, it had notes to Star Wars, it was marketed that way, but it still was Destiny. And meeting Aunor, the Aunor I've read so much about, I screamed. While I truly found Maya to be interesting, Dredge and Bale, hello. My duo went from Kylo Ren whining, he's like a child that got its chocolate stolen, to I think liking him a lot. And I loved him. He went from just the next big bad guy to someone perfect within one campaign and a few lore entries. At least to me. His interactions with Lodi, the lore books, even the voice actor did such a wonderful job at showing how much pain and I am past the point of no return energy he brought into the story. The cutscene that turned the bazaar I was running around with my friend into a graveyard of guardians, Ido laying down next to the corpses of what she thought were God's chosen to save herself, that fucked with me. And still, I hoped that maybe there's a possibility to save Bale, whatever shape that would have taken given that we are talking about the Nine. Because you can say what you will about Bale, but if what is practically a god approaches you and tells you you're the next big thing, you probably want to believe that too. I wanted to, and hope to save him in a way, because in his interactions with Lodi, he seemed to be suffering, questioning. I want to see his story. And I do not think that me and my friend were alone with these opinions. Shadow and Order had been delayed and people had finished the story and moved on to other games in the meantime. Sure, the player count was bad, but it wasn't that unusual, I think. Maybe it was the lowest, but especially since the game had implemented a few things people didn't quite enjoy, and Destiny's life cycle always felt like update, game peaks, and then slowly drizzles out until the next update. To me, that didn't feel like totally bad. I still played, but less than before too. I mostly stuck to my Crucible matches. The moment the end was announced, it rose. People came back, they began becoming loud, and I hate every news outlet saying it is our fault that the game died because the player count went down during a time of no content when all we were told is that it was a simple delay. We just waited. People rage against the end. The Steam sales went up, the numbers did. Almost instantly petitions for Destiny 3 or any kind of community rose, with one hitting way over 300,000 signatures. To put in perspective, the petition for World of Warcraft Classic had 279,416 signatures. That's a big number. The chat of the Summer Game Festival, the State of Play, even Xbox Showcase, full of demands for Destiny. We want Destiny and we're trying to be loud about it. When Momentum of Triumph, the last big update, launched, the community made it their own personal quest to crash the servers. I cheered for every contacting Destiny 2 servers in the bottom of my screen. I laughed when it kicked me out to orbit. Because maps were full, because the game was alive, because we all do not want this, not like that. People love how socials were managed. They love the update because Bungie works best when they are backed into a corner, or as we know now, Bungie works best when upper management doesn't put greed over love, over art, and over passion. And they can communicate with us. I am not sure if I should speak up about this part, partly because this video was so much longer than expected, partly because some parts of the Destiny community really do not fuck with Marathon at the moment, but it's still Bungie and I feel like I gotta address it. I play a lot of Marathon. Well, not recently, but in general. I want Bungie to thrive. I want to support their remaining product. Marathon is R2 in a way, but it's also the only remaining project Bungie has that can generate income now that they pull the Destiny plug. And I love Marathon. But it isn't Destiny, and I do not love Marathon as much as I love Destiny. I would have missed Marathon if not for the fact that it was by Bungie. Even if it had been on my radar due to a cool trailer and the art direction, I would have been out after the scandal in the beta. But because it was Bungie behind it, I still pre-ordered. And I don't regret it, the game is cool. Also the first extraction shooter I've ever tried, but that is the thing. It is an extraction shooter, which, as far as I'm aware, is a bit more niche than Destiny. I don't see a world where Marathon could possibly hit the same player count as Destiny, or how it could generate as much income as Destiny, which reached a much wider audience. But also, I don't know about this stuff or business, so just my 2 cents. In my heart, I am just worried. I liked both cakes, and they took one out, and now I'm afraid they'll burn down the entire bakery. Like I said, I don't work in video games, I'm merely a fan, so it is easy to talk from my high horse, but I'm trying to be understandable. Still, in a way, as a client, as a consumer, as someone who buys products and makes demands, this is my pitch, or rather my plead to Sony PlayStation. I am willing to buy if you provide Destiny 3. The Destiny story isn't done, we just entered a new saga, and from what I understood, the planning story-wise probably is already advanced, the works for that is already done to a degree. But from what I also understood, live service is expensive and they don't want to risk burning money again, even with 390,000 people asking for it. So don't for now. Keep the team, at least the few ones that remained, their jobs. Why do we not get one and done, maybe even single-player games within the universe? You keep the interest up and we can pay for something that can eventually help fund our Destiny 3, instead of 100 projects that we will never see. And most of that stuff is written in a way too, all the lore books and the moments and the characters already existing, even concept art. Show us! So when I started this video, or rather the script, it was before the next round of layoffs. They were rumored back then. This video came delayed at best. I fucked up. I still wanted to push it out because, as stupid as it sounds and as much as I don't expect anyone to really sit here and watch through all of this, I had held hope while writing this. Hope or something I can't name, possibly delusion. To prevent that, to, I don't know, change something. Despite all the much bigger creators speaking out and the public outrages, I wanted to do something. I felt like I had to. This still doesn't feel like enough. And I was late and the layoffs happened regardless. So in the timeline where I was early, it probably didn't change anything. But that also doesn't change my decision to put this video out. So not much that I can say. I still want the things that I am listing in this video. My main worry at this point is if we do get these things, if we do get a Destiny 3 or spin-off in a few years, that it just won't be by Bungie anymore. Either not in name or in spirit, just throwing the ship of Theseus in here. How many people can they lay off or replace before Bungie stops being Bungie? Stupid comparison, but Dead by Daylight made a simple dating sim. I would buy a Destiny dating sim, and I'm sure enough people would like to kiss their favorite warlord, exo, hive, or awoken. Some of the usernames speak loud enough for that. Also, I remember that one was being developed internally years ago. I'm just saying, I'd pay. Actual games Bungie thrives at? How about a more mature sci-fi shooter? Think Dead Space or Directive 8020 shows what happened during the construction of the Exos, people tearing themselves apart, the people forced through the Vex portals, the tests where humans drank Vex milk. Because it all is in the lore book. Show me a dog there slowly losing their mind, because what is progress if it is like that? Let me meet the rest of the Bray family, all of them, Clovis 1 and his son Clovis 2, Willa, Anton. Show me the Dark Age, the First Risen, the Stronghold, Shax in his prime, Fellwinter, Drifter's Bar and his crew, the Iron Lords. To my mind comes something with survival or builder elements. I'd also like to see Six Fronts, Twilight Gap, the Collapse, the researchers on Titan we heard glimpses of due to Asa. And the thing about that, not every of those pitched games or stories would have to be long running or live service or very complicated with multiple choices and endings, because they don't have to have happy endings or multiple. Hell, if they're from some of the lore books, they cannot. But I'd like to see their stories. On the same note, over the years, I've heard many people ask for a Destiny movie or series, or hell, even comics. I don't know shit about production costs, but the demand is there, the interest in the IP is there. This isn't just me being desperate, although I really am. It just feels hopeless. This is to appeal to show demand and interest as a client, customer, whatever. The layoffs people have been talking about could cost the livelihoods of people that had their hands in creating the universe so beloved to me by many. And this is all I fear I can give back right now. My attempt at a love letter, the response to the music that I listen to all the time, the response to Water's Ruin, to every map I just strolled around and appreciated, my response to every piece of lore that kept me reading up until 4 AM on a work week, every laugh at my favorite characters being silly, every cheer when an exotic finally dropped or we reached a milestone, every tear shed when campaigns showered me with bricks that have been kissed hard enough to leave lipstick prints on me once they hit. That marked me. I wish to stay here forever, because I want to rage against the dying of the light. For the light lives in all places, and I am begging Sony PlayStation to acknowledge this. To feed rather than to snuff. So I've been talking quite a while, and I do not think there is much for me left to say. But what are your experiences with Destiny? When did you join? What's your favorite piece of lore? What would you like to see and explore if Sony would agree that this IP can be more than a too expensive live service they don't want to risk? Of course we want Destiny 3, but the horrors of human experimentation with the Vex, the Risen and Warlords fighting for territory, dancing with the Awoken while Ahamkara roam around, or rather the hunt that drove them out. Or just a really simple dating sim that will finally let you get close and personal to your favorite. Let me know down below, share this, and if this alone is not enough, maybe 1,000 of our voices can reach them. Eyes up. It's like kind of tough to photo.